Have you guys ever heard of Namco Museum? I certainly have. And to be honest with you, this was a very good game series that appeared on just about everything. And it's just a bunch of arcade games shoved onto one disc cartridge or just whatever the hell they could put it on. Honestly, back before the days of DLCs and storefronts to pick up smaller games, this was a good economic option that didn't involve getting some plug and play because those things are just ridiculous to me. Why not just have something for the Game Boy? So today we're going to be looking at the Namco Museum port for GBA and just see what shakes loose. Let's check it out. The first game we're going to be talking about today is Miss Pac-Man. And to be honest with you, Miss Pac-Man is the most played here on the collection for me when I was a kid, because I've had this collection on the GBA for a very long time. Today, like I said, is not really about keeping in mind whether these are good games, it's rather, are they good enough ports of these games? So let's start this up, and let's see what we can do. So, to be honest, without critiquing Miss Pac-Man, because we all know how Miss Pac-Man plays, I can tell you for one instance immediately that I absolutely think this is a good port. Is it the best screen size? Well, no, of course not. You gotta remember, this is in the days where things used to be a lot simpler. There used to be a lot whenever it comes to just trying to get even an arcade game on the go. This was a good option. Of course, now you can always just get your hands on a better port, but I don't know. This one feels like it is a perfectly passable 7 out of 10. The screen crunch isn't bad. They actually made it look good on the Game Boy and systems, and really, is there anything else we really need in a Pac-Man game? Not really, so give it a pass with the 7 out of 10, and let's move right on our way to another game. So, the next one we're going to be talking about is none other than Pole Position. Look, I really do know this is a legendary arcade title, but I've never loved RC games or any racing game from this era. I've never been good at them, but let's just start and see what we can do here. So, honestly, it's just Pole Position. And I think this one weirdly fares better on the Game Boy Advance and SP screens than some of the other ones in this collection. It's just simply drive and turn. It's honestly not even that bad of a game, but it's sensitive as hell. But we're not here to really talk about whether or not the games are bad or good. This is a good one. Really, it is. But it just feels slippery and sensitive, and to be honest, this was probably going to get a low rating from me anyways, just because of how much I do not really love these kind of games. But the graphics are pretty, and the game is fun. Might look like I'm sucking ass at it, but to be honest with you, this is just how I've always played. The turning feels fine, but just dated. The visuals look good and the game runs fine, so I'll give it a solid 6 and keep going. Not really much to say here. Dig Dug. So this game is actually one of my favorites of all the arcade titles out there. Depending on my mood, it might even be my favorite some days. Now, whether or not I would say any of these are the definitive way to play these games, the answer is always going to be no. This is a Game Boy. This is not what these are meant to be. But let's go ahead and start this one and see if it plays any better than some of the other ports I've played. Now, the first thing you're going to notice, no screen crunch, no bad amounts of color, nothing washed out. All the information is here, and I will have to say, This is just 1-to-1 Dig Dug. This is probably the best one subjectively on this whole entire list. And I'm not even really sure I can say it's a great port, but whether or not it works, well, yeah. Ooh. Either way, give it a 9. And let's keep going. Galaga. Now, this and Galaxian are practically twin games in this collection, so I will show you some Galaxian too, but just know that everything I say is a little similar compared to the rest of the games. I think this is just a great bite-sized experience for the Game Boy. Let's go ahead and play it. Honestly, I've never been crazy good at space shooters just because I don't play them all that often. But, you know, whenever you've got a second to kill and not all that much time, this is just a damn good way to put some downtime into your arcade action. I find the collars pretty, and very subjectively, this is a good port. Only problem is, I mean, just like all of these, the sprites look tiny. Honestly, I would rather go for pretty much all of the others that I've talked about rather than these last two titles, but they're extremely playable. It's fun. And sometimes that's what an arcade game needs to be. Just to turn your brain off and just play like hell experience, and these do that job. Let's go check out Galaxian real quick. Well, just as I predicted, the only thing that's different between this and Galaga is that Galaxian has a bunch of things that are just stationary and they come down to attack you now and then. Honestly, the last one might get maybe an 8 just due to the accuracy, but I kind of like Galaga better. It's a little more pretty, it's a little more flashy. Galaxian sadly gets a 4 just for being sort of there. That's pretty much all I gotta say about it. Woof. Rough, rough. Wonder why they didn't just pick something else. I mean, I know they're similar titles, but this feels like a diet version of the last. So, what did I think about this collection? To be honest, it's perfectly acceptable. In the modern day, you can pick this up for sub 10. Would it be worth that? Yeah, honestly, for 10 bones a piece, even, Namco Museum is a good time. The only problem is, we've got some better alternatives to this game nowadays, and I'd like to show them to you. For my money, I would rather go for Pac-Man Museum on the Switch, and this is just 14 Pac-Man games from across time, including the Championship DX edition, that's my favorite, and it just has a much better selection. There's a lot of customization, you get to build your own arcade room, but if you still want that bad boy Namco flair, I would go ahead and pick up the most modern of the Namco museums. Yeah, this is still going on. This is Arcade Pack. Arcade Pack actually has 2 or 3 different editions of Pac-Man, but it's also got Dig Dug, it's got Sky Kid, it's got Galaga. It actually has a deluxe version of Galaga as well. No Galaxian to my knowledge. But this is full of better experiences that have been better handpicked out, and they're all a little different from each other, which is more that can be said about Namco Museum. Do I love this game? Yeah. But through time, there has just been a lot better things we can do now that is a little bit more accessible in the market. Not to mention, both of these I have picked up for under 20 bucks thanks to used game stores. So just remember, just because you can go back on Game Boy, doesn't always mean you just should. Either way, I love that game, so we're going to give the thing an overall 7 out of 10. I would give it an 8, but due to its modern counterparts being better than it, there's no reason to go back. Let's just go forward to go back into the future and play some old arcade games. Catch you next time. Howdy folks, this is John here at the end of the video. Thank you so much for coming on my stupid video of Namco Museum for the Game Boy Advance. A 7 out of 10 felt excellent for this. To be honest, I would love if you'd share this with your friends, get the word out. This video series is going to kind of be made to look like some vintage, kind of older tech type show. So visuals, I'm going to try not to go too high fidelity. Kind of want to invoke that 90s to early 2000s look. But, however, there will be some modern touches here and there. Either way, hopefully you guys share this with your friends. Give that like and subscribe button a quick little tickle. And tell me what kind of games you want to see in the future. I will be covering all sorts of them. This one felt like a good one to start off with, just because it's a little bit of a looser one. But either way, I'm out of here. Dungeon Tendo, out.